What is up, everybody? Another NFL Sunday in the books, right? We had a Thursday night football. We still have two games tonight, but good chunk of games yesterday. I'm your host here, Andrew Cooper, alongside me, Iggy Gilbert. And here's what we do on Monday. We sat down, we watched the games as best we could. It's hard to go back and watch the ones individually that you missed. We're doing our best. But we combed as many different types of stats as we could. We're looking at snaps, we're looking at routes, we're looking at targets, route participation, everything we can find, separation stats, whatever, to share it with you today and kind of break down everything behind the scenes that you might have missed, because people have got things going on. I was hanging out with the baby at times and doing things while I'm watching the games, and you can't watch it all at once. So we're here to help the people, right, Iggy?
Oh yeah, that's what we're here to do the hard work so you can just implement it and win. Let you
Right.
guys do that part, but it's fun to me. I like you said, box score nerd and go back and look at some of your usage, and that's how you get advantages in this game.
Exactly. It's like we're trying to find the little edges. The game is crazy. It's always going to be. That's the fun of it, is that anyone can win. But if you pay attention to the right details, you can get some of those edges to give you just a little bit better odds. It's like poker, right? You can lose. The best poker player in the world can lose at a table if the cards aren't there, but they have a better chance of winning. And that's what we're trying to do here at Fantasy Alarm. So alongside this stuff, we have the waiver articles, two different ones that I do. We've got all sorts of, Iggy's got his IDP. We have three waiver articles with Iggy's IDP one. We have, I do the running back questionnaire, the target totem poll to kind of take all this stuff in. But here's what we're doing. We're going through and we're hitting you with a bunch of stuff. And yeah, race day. See, Charlene missed some stuff. We all missed some stuff. So why don't we start with the first game, the overseas game, in case people were sleeping in, Iggy. What did you see, brother? Broncos at Jets.
Man, when it comes down to it, let's start with the Broncos. That's a Super Bowl defense, Coop.
Yeah.
15 on third down, hold them to a total of 82 yards, 9 sacks. Look, Fields had 218 plus passing yards in the 3 games in which he completed. Okay, not including the game he got hurt. And they held him to what was it? He actually had 45 passing yards. So when you include the sacks, it's negative. But I think people were really. I don't think Aaron Glenn's a great coach, first off, but I think people were ready just to put all the blame on Fields, and that's just how it works when you're the quarterback in the NFL. But this is a defense. I think Fields is going to bounce back next week, but this defense is simply at another level. Vance Joseph couldn't do it as a head coach, but man, is he doing it as a defensive coordinator for the Broncos. There were 8 players with rushing attempts for the Broncos. Harvey only had 2 of those carries, my friend. There's 7 players with receptions. Ingram led the way with 5 for 42. Kind of interesting when you think about it. Harvey actually had 4 receptions, though. So, PPR, if you're playing in PPR leagues, you're kind of safe there. He didn't have a whole lot, but that floor of 4 receptions kept him somewhat valuable. This offense is truly only productive with Sutton and Dobbins. Like we can go to Franklin, we can go to Bryant, we can go to Ingram, but the truth is this offense simply does not produce unless it's Sutton and Dobbins doing all the work. That's where everything is at in this team. That's when they have a great offensive performance. It's because of those 2 guys. It's not because of anybody else. All right. So that's something we're going to have to monitor going forward. And I would try to go get Sutton after a 1-catch, 114-yard performance. If you got somebody that's just really disgruntled, go hop on him and go get him, because they're going to have to go back to him eventually. And, that was Sauce Gardner. That was a Sauce Gardner effect. He got shot down by Sauce. So good cornerbacks make big plays. Surtain had a big play in that game. That's just what happens. He knocked the ball out of Wilson. When I look at the Jets, Isaiah Davis had 14 offensive snaps. Hall had 42 offensive snaps, but he could only get 55 yards on 22 carries. Pretty interesting to me. Garrett Wilson, he only had 3 receptions for 13 yards. Like I said, could be a little bit of the Surtain effect. Moss was on him some too. Fields missed him a couple times while he was just like kind of wide open, or missed through him. Could have led him a little better. A better quarterback would have led him maybe, so he could clip that. But one thing I noticed about Wilson, man, is if he doesn't catch with his hands, he can't catch the ball. Right. He's too skinny. There's just not like it bounces off him like the world's best bouncy ball or something. Yeah. And like so skinny, he gets hurt when he just falls to the ground. Like just falling literally on his butt, he got hurt because he just doesn't have any meat on him, man. So that's just something to keep in mind with Wilson. Unless he's got super accurate day from Fields, Wilson's probably going to suffer.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I mean, they teach you that at every level, is that when you're in the backyard playing catch or whatever, it's easy to just cradle it like this. Once you're out there when you got the pads on, dude, and you really got to catch with your hands, and you got to know exactly the hand placement. We've seen Marvin Harrison Jr. struggle with that too, where like the ball will be here and he'll try and catch it like this. And it's like, that's a skill that some of these guys need to work on. But yeah, with this game, I will say, you got to kind of throw some of it out the window because of the way that the game script, right? Like you're still starting Wilson, you're still starting Sutton, you're still holding on to Mason Taylor. He just had, they couldn't get anything going, but he's still playing a big snap share, running a good amount of routes. So that's where we're at. And then, with Harvey, RJ Harvey, it's no different than Travion Henderson right now. Like if you believed in the talent before, you keep stashing him and hoping the role changes or guys get hurt. So you're still holding on in those situations. That's what I'm doing. So I'm with you on that. Next game here, the Ravens versus the Rams here. Puka Nacua, the big story first and foremost, Puka Nacua ankle injury. So he left the game, came back in, and a lot of times people think, oh, he came back in, he's going to be fine. But sometimes these guys can kind of trick the staff or do whatever. I mean, I've seen DeAndre Hopkins get ruled out of a game and then sneak back into the game when he played for the Cardinals, right? So Puka, they don't know if he's going to be good to go. They're saying day to day, though, not week to week. So maybe he misses this week. Maybe he doesn't, but we got to monitor that for him. So here's the thing is that we didn't really get the information we fully need because Tutu Atwell was out. If Atwell's out again and Puka's out, then it'll be Jordan Whittington getting those snaps, right? He's the guy that stepped in this week and played a big snap share opposite Devontae Adams. If Atwell's playing, what they've been doing is kind of rotating in them as the wide receiver 3. Whittington gets more like jumbo goal line type plays because he's a better blocker, and then Tutu is used more as like a field stretcher. So if they're healthy, I do expect a rotation to some degree, but Whittington probably, if you're going to look to add somebody, he's probably the guy. Kyron led in all phases like he usually does. Blake Corum also left with a bit of an ankle injury. So depending how bad that is, next guy up is rookie Jarquez Hunter. And I do like this player. But again, he doesn't really have value unless Corum is out long term, right? Like if Corum is set to miss the rest of the year, then we might add Jarquez Hunter. But he only becomes a handcuff because Kyron plays so much. Tyler Higbee and Davis Allen rotated. Terrence Ferguson played just a little bit. So not really much there. With the Rams, they're a great team for fantasy because they just give it to 3 guys the whole time, right? It's perfect. It's Devontae Adams, it's Puka Nacua, it's Kyron Williams. So that's what we wish every team would do instead of playing this guessing game. On the Ravens side, to me, seems pretty obvious, right? Tyler Huntley should be the quarterback for as long as Lamar Jackson's out. Lamar Jackson probably expected to be back next week from what
Well, they have a bye next week, so
after the bye, yeah. So Harbaugh was saying that he expects both Lamar Jackson and Roquan Smith to be back, which those guys are huge, probably the 2 most important guys on that team, right? We've seen how bad the defense has been without Roquan, Iggy. I mean, that's what you're seeing, right? They're missing that over the middle.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And like I said, it's not just that. It's him being like, hey, they're running in motion. We're checking to this. You just have somebody that's automatic in their head. They watch so much game tape, such a great high football IQ. When that interior linebacker, the green dot is gone, it affects the entire defense.
Everything. Yeah. It's same thing happens with quarterback in a lot of these teams. You don't understand that, like, it's not just your ability to throw the ball, the audibles and the switching plays and even switching from one, like if you see the right thing, switching from a zone run to a gap run.
Right.
Like good quarterbacks do that. Backups don't know how to do that. And the same thing happens with the defense. Like it's very complex defense they run, and you got to know how to get guys in the right position. So when he gets back, should help that defense. Derrick Henry, there was a normal split between Henry and Justice Hill. Henry gets all the run work. Justice Hill gets the pass work. Henry, bounce back game for him. So that's a guy you just start every week. Zay Flowers is the only wide receiver to play a full snap share. So Bateman and DeAndre Hopkins are really just kind of like if you must type plays. At tight end, it was interesting because Likely and Andrews both played a ton. 63 snaps for Likely, 61 for Andrews. Andrews played more wide receiver snaps, 48 snaps at wide receiver to 36 for Likely, but Likely quietly somehow ran more routes, 36 to 31. I think they're trying to showcase Andrews for a potential trade. I think that's what's going on here. So Likely is still just a stash. Andrews got more targets, but maybe they will do that trade, and then it would be wheels up for Likely. Until then, kind of tough to trust these guys just because they're both playing, and until Lamar Jackson gets back, who knows? So that's where we're living with that. Anything else on that game?
Yeah, I will say if Puka can't go, there's a reason Higbee got that target in the red zone because Adams is going to start getting double covered, and Stafford Hardy has a great relationship with Higbee. I mean, Higbee, we've seen him be like, what was it, a top 10 tight end a couple of years ago. So keep that in mind, going forward when we get to week 8, major bye weeks going on, week 7, not too many, but keep an eye on Higbee. I think he could become a tight end that gets the touchdowns.
Spot
So
start, yeah. DFS play, spot start if Puka's out. I agree.
yeah, and also like I do play in this league. It's a dynasty league. It's a best ball league, but you can drop and pick up players throughout the season. Really fun format. So look at Higby if you're playing in something like that.
Yeah, he's definitely on the wire in a lot of spots.
Yeah. Moving over to the most fireworks probably of the weekend, Cowboys versus Panthers. And by the way, just fire up your quarterback and more than likely your wide receivers against the Cowboys going forward. Diggs is not him, Branch is not him. But looking at it, Williams' first terrible performance. We're talking about Javonte, 13 for 29, but he salvaged it with 5 receptions. So in a PPR league, you were okay, even though he got 5 yards. That's just why I'm not a PPR fan. He got 5 yards, but he got 5.5 points for it. Blue, he only had 3 carries, but didn't produce any yards out of it. So I wouldn't panic if you're a Williams owner. If you know another league mate that might be panicking or in a bad bye week spot, maybe you can go pick up Williams because I think he's still going to be relevant going forward. Pickens and Ferguson, man, both tight ends, man, they dominated the stats for that game. Ferguson is still a read for Dak Prescott down low. And it's just a weird game. Like it's a kind of high scoring game, but that like it didn't like equate to a bunch of like yards, let's just say, outside of Pickens. Like nobody else really produced a whole lot of yardage for the Cowboys in that game. I don't think that's contributing to the Panthers defense. I just kind of think that was how the script went. Pickens had that amazing catch and the hurdle, and that's a big chunk of that came from that.
He's so fun to watch, man. He's just a cartoon character out there, holding the ball out like LaShawn McCoy, right? Just trying to jump over everybody.
Like running like this. Like I guarantee he was never taught that.
No, you're actively taught not to do that. But
yeah,
LaShawn McCoy used to do that, and he never used to fumble. And LaShawn McCoy would do like ball fakes. He'd like have the ball in your face like this and be trying to juke you. So I don't know.
Different animal though,
Yeah,
he's like
that. Yeah, it's like watching. It's like when you're playing Madden and your buddy hits a spin move early in the game, and then he spends the rest of the game trying to do the spin. That's basically what Pickens did. He hit the hurdle early, and then I think he hurdled like 3 more times, and none of them worked. So shout out to Pickens.
Yeah, I wonder how his usage will be with Lamb, but Dak has shown that he can produce an alpha wide receiver. He's not scared to just target monster a wide receiver as much as possible. Dak's impressive. I think he could be a league winner depending on how your playoffs shake out. So keep him healthy. And keep riding him. And then just real quick, Shamar James, he's a must-own IDP player at this point. He had 11 tackles again last week. Most people don't know who he is. He's a rookie. Go get him. Go take advantage of him, of nobody knowing him. I went and picked him up in 3 leagues last week. He's too good not to, okay? So in IDP formats, go pick up Shamir James, linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys. He's completely made Jack Sanborn irrelevant. On the Panthers, man, what about Dowdle? You can call it a revenge game. You can call it the Canales system. I don't care what you call it, Coop, but 30 touches, 183 yards, or 30 carries, 183 yards, 4 receptions for 56 and a touchdown. I mean, they just fed him, and said, you can't stop this guy. And we're just going to ride him until we can't ride him anymore.
That's what's crazy. It's like they spent a 2nd-round pick on Jonathan Brooks. They gave Chuba Hubbard $33 million, and then Rico Dowdle's the best running back in the league.
It's the system. That's why we preach the system over here so much. I think Hubbard could have had almost or just as much of an impressive game if he was healthy. For sure. But that leads me to a point before I talk about the other players on the Panthers. Would you sell high on Dow now, or would you hold on to him?
I would try. I actually like, depending on what you have, right? I would try and move him, and I would try and move him to the. If you don't have Chuba Hubbard, I would try and reach out to that person and say, hey, by the way, like I'm hearing Chuba's going to be this is just how I play. I'd say, hey, Chuba's probably going to be the guy when he gets back, but Dowdle's been awesome when he's been hurt. Chuba's more valuable. Rico's Dowdle's more valuable to you than he is to me. If you can get anyone that can crack your starting lineup, I would probably do it because, if they do split, the value for both is going to go down a little bit. And I'm not sure if you're going to be able to start Dowdle rest away. So I don't know. That's how I operate, is that I say, okay, you know what? This person might be willing to give me the most for this player, and I'm just going to take it. But if you're really hurting at running back, I would just hold on because, the running backs went out. He went out and had over 200 total yards. And if they're going to split, each of them can have 60, 70, 80 yards and possibly score. So, a split might not be the end of the world.
Yeah, I think the ball out of Bryce Young's hands, the more the better, is probably what Canales is thinking. And I'm with you. I was sold him. Just real quick, we had in a league, somebody got Aaron Rodgers, Rico Dow, I can't remember the third person for Jonathan Taylor, and people were like, "I'm quitting. Like this is a money league, so just take my orphan league." Just how people get so mad about trades. I'm like, look, one of these guys could get injured, like literally right after this trade. But like it turned out to be a pretty decent trade because the guy didn't have a quarterback. Aaron Rodgers isn't the greatest quarterback, but his other one's Cam Ward, who can't put up any fantasy football points. So just wait for trades to play out, people, before we start complaining.
I had a trade once where I got Adrian Peterson, AJ Green, and Allen Robinson, and I gave up like picks and some players. And like people, it's the same thing. People were so pissed about the trade, and they actually vetoed it, and it bailed me out so bad because within a year, AJ Green and Adrian Peterson were like done, and Allen Robinson had that one good year, and then he was done. So I was like, that I was at the time I was pissed, but like that was one of the few times where like, hey, you know what? You guys bailed me out. Really appreciate you. And they absolutely screwed over. We both wanted to do the trade, and the league like was one of those leagues where vetoes were part of the rules, so you got to respect it. But like looking back, they really screwed my buddy Drew on that one. So
yeah, people just are so short-sighted with trades. I mean, I've seen it happen, and I try to put a trade through immediately, and as a commissioner, I deal with the feedback. But yeah, it was kind of one of those things where people just threaten to walk away. It's like, man, you're 4-1, and you're threatening to walk away because of a trade that didn't even affect your team. But anyway, McMillan.
Vito's dumb.
McMillan had 57 snaps out wide, 4 in the slot. He turned that in for 329 and 2 touchdowns, his first of the season. Not the yards. I thought the yardage was for sure going to be there, but fantasy football, you're not going to complain about 2 touchdowns, whatever else comes with it. Leggett had 31 out wide, 18 in the snap, turned that into 2 for 11. Horn Jr., 9 in the slot, 5 out wide. He turned that into 2 for 36. The wide receiver field, I like Leggett as a person. Like we talk about it for fantasy football all the time. It's a little difficult, but he's just so big. I don't know if they're just using him just to run block more. I didn't watch this game in depthly, but it's McMillan basically. If you're going to go, Trimble had a decent game. He's just too inconsistent, and we don't know when he's going to get phased out. Due to more time for Sanders. So Trimble had a decent game, but he rubbed me so wrong 2 weeks before. I practically dropped him in all my leagues. So
couldn't trust him. Yeah, and again, Sanders will be back soon. With Leggett, I've actually spent extensive time watching him. Did like an off-season study on him. He has some pretty major flaws in his mechanics. Number one is that he jumps when he doesn't need to. Right. So he's actually so you'll see him make these like crazy circus catches, but he does that even when he doesn't have to. And what it does is it really hurts your ability to, first of all, it makes it more difficult to catch the ball, but it really hurts your ability to get yak because you're not catching the ball in stride. Like certain players will stay, like watch Puka Nacua. He only jumps if he has to because he stays grounded so that he can catch the ball in stride and keep running. Leggett will jump on a slant. He'll jump on anything, and it's just you have no yak ability after the catch. So for right now, he's kind of a catch and fall down guy. Mike Williams for the Chargers struggled with that early in his career, and then eventually figured it out. So it's not the end of the world, but this guy needs serious coaching, and I think they're aware of that. So for now, yeah.
First round pick. That's a lot of 2 first round wide receivers on that team.
Yeah, I'll stash Jalen Coker just to see what he looks like when he gets back, just to see. It's like he might be a guy that I've had in the IR spot all year and kind of holding on to him, and then he goes out there and doesn't look good, and I just drop him. But there's only so many of those possibilities out there for you to just even give it a shot. In this Colts game, I had somebody in the chat asking me what happened to Marvin Harrison Jr. He got hurt. He left the game with a concussion. So
terrible against the Colts too. A stadium, that he said that game meant a lot to him before the game.
The game meant a lot to him. It's just bad. Yeah, a lot of people there because that's obviously where his dad played and where he grew up around that stadium. And it stinks. He missed the game, so most of the game. Zay Jones picked up those snaps opposite Michael Wilson. We'll see what happens with Marv, but Zay Jones is a tough start. Michael Wilson probably still a tough start. Just probably going to be more Trey McBride. Trey McBride, he's obviously locked in. It definitely helped that Kenny Moore has been out, and he's kind of their slot cover guy. So, it was like open over the middle all day long for McBride. He scored, which is good because that's been kind of the one thing lacking for McBride. With the running backs on that side,
mess.
Yeah, Amari DiMercado got benched, so that was clear. He played 3 snaps on offense. They moved Michael Carter into the pass down role, so Michael Carter ran more routes, got more targets, and then Bam Knight kind of became the early down guy. He didn't technically start. I know there were rumors that he might start. Michael Carter was out there for the first play, But that's kind of the setup now, is that Bam Knight's going to skew more towards running. Michael Carter's going to skew more towards passing, but they're both going to play, which makes it really tough to trust either one of them, to be honest. So just that's what's going on right now. And you never know. Maybe DeMarcado will come out of the doghouse and play a little bit more. On the other side, on the Colts side, Adonai Mitchell, who did the same thing as Amari DeMarcado, also remains in the doghouse. Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce are your two outside wide receivers on the outside. Josh Downs comes in for 3 wide receiver sets and plays the slot. That's why he has kind of a part-time role, but he still got a ton of targets over the middle. Same with Tyler Warren. This was a game where they were just looking over the middle. Michael Pittman is a guy I'm going to continue to start him. He in this game was a decoy for a number of plays. He had a great game. I rewatched this one. Dude, he had a great game blocking. That's great for the Colts. It doesn't help us. Dude, he had a pancake block at on a goal line play where he did the whole thing where you pancake the guy and then you lie down on top of him. You know the linemen do that. Like,
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. So Mark
Yes, he had one of those too.
Who did?
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yes, he did.
Very touchdown that never existed. So not only did a touchdown get called back, so did a pancake.
The pancake, yeah. But so John Pittman down for a pancake. We don't get points for that in fantasy though. So what are you gonna do?
Right.
He's still a guy I'm gonna start. Pierce. So it's like this is how it works for me. Tyler Warren is must start. Jonathan Taylor is must start. Daniel Jones is must start. Michael Pittman is a guy that I'm probably going to keep starting, but he's now he's on the fringe a little bit. Alec Pierce, he's a field stretcher, better in standard leagues because he can hit home runs, but and DFS, but hard to trust from week to week. And then Josh Downs is good in full PPR because of his role, but he's not a full-time player, so hard to trust him. That's how I view that Colts team. Anything to add on that one?
Yeah, real quick, what was I going to say? About the Cardinals. Do you think Jacoby Brissett? Do you think he continues? I mean, I think he made the offense look better. I think he made the pass catchers look better on that team. Honestly,
he did a little bit, and I'll tell you, it'd be wise. The thing with Kyler Murray is that he's a scrambler, and that's what he does best. So as long as he has a foot injury, you should just hold him out. You know what I mean? Like Kyler Murray doesn't help you playing with a injured foot. You know, like if it was like ribs or something like that, then you just play, right? But with something like this, it's the part of his game, the dynamic part of his game he adds. There's no reason to play him. So if I was them, I would not play him.
And then real quick, I was trying to find it while we were doing it. Offensive Player of the Year. Jonathan Taylor leads the way at plus 150. Do you think there's a chance that anybody takes that away from him?
I don't know, man. Again, that's the sports book basically baiting people into betting where they'll just collect money if he gets hurt.
Yeah,
right? It's like, well, that's why it's plus money because he's the favorite right now. But they know that
Yama last year, same thing.
Right. It's like they know that anything can happen. So that's what they'll do it. And as we get farther through the season, though, like if you now is the time to bet it because they're going to continue. The longer he stays healthy, the closer that's going to get to even money and then beyond. Because the way he's playing right now, I mean, he played 54 of 59 snaps, and that's why DJ Giddens is one of the best handcuffs. He has no standalone value, but if Taylor goes down, there's a possibility that they just use Giddens the same exact way. So he has no standalone value, but big upside if something happens. There's no guarantee they would do that, but just the possibility that they might makes him a good handcuff.
Hey, I handcuff my running backs on leagues with only 5 bench players. So.
Whatever I can, man. Yeah,
you got to do it,
Especially a guy like that, because like I'm starting him every single week, and no one's going to come out of the blue and surpass him in my lineup. So the best possible player for me is to just make sure that he stays in my lineup.
Yeah. Well, speaking of offensive player of the year, the person that's second right now, JSN, and for good reason. He had 8 receptions. The rest of the team combined had 8 receptions for the Seahawks. Of course, we have all seen that big touchdown pass, perfect pass by Darnold. JSN past the secondary, past everybody, gets in. He's just been everything he's been built up to be. So
Can I make a point right here? And this isn't to bash anybody that drafted Brock Bowers or Trey McBride, because the picks, I totally understand the logic on doing that. But my philosophy every year is to make a list of players that you believe could be the number 1 flex player in all of fantasy football, right? The number 1 flex, and it's never been a tight end one time. Some of these guys are scoring 400 PPR points. Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb's done it. Cooper Kupp's done it. And a tight end's never scored more than 330, right? So for me, I make that list, and the existence of guys like Jonathan Taylor and JSN in the second round is exactly why you go that way, and you don't take a quarterback and you don't take a tight end until that list has been completely exhausted.
Yeah.
That is a philosophy of mine that I've used for years and years. And sure, I missed out on some good Travis Kelsey years. I never had Jimmy Graham or Gronk when they were first round picks or second round picks, but that philosophy has consistently worked well for us. Not to mention, tight end is one of the positions where every year a tight end comes from outside the top 18 or so in tight end ADP to finish top five. So, not that those are bad picks. Brock Bowers got hurt. Trey McBride has been great, but like these legitimate league winners often come from the second round. So just wanted to get that point across on why we rank it the way we do.
Yeah, and yeah, great point. JSN, he's like I said, number 2 in offensive player of the year voting right now for that reason. 162 yards, man. I mean, it's just he had 162 of Darnold's 295, so over 50% of the yards from Darnold went to JSN. But not to make it all bad, AJ Barner, tight end world, three catches for 71 yards. I'm sure he's going to finish as a top 12 tight end this week. That's just how that works when you get that many yards, especially in tight end premium leagues. Cooper Kupp got his first touchdown, only 2 receptions, but it's encouraging to see that the ball's getting passed around. Ultimately, man, when I look at this game, it was one because of Sam Darnold's efficiency, but Seattle's only 1-12 on third down. So that's something they're going to have to monitor going forward. And their defensive line, it's just they sacked him, what was it, 7 times? Trevor Lawrence, that's really the difference in this game, those 7 sacks, because everything else was pretty even. Both of them basically played mistake-free football, controlled the clock about even amount of times. But Seahawks won due to those 7 sacks. Charbonnet outsnapped Walker 33-19, the second consecutive week he's outsnapped him, but they combined for 58 yards. So I don't know if that's a credit to the Jaguars rush defense or if it's just a credit to Seahawks kind of making that one big play. And it's kind of weird. This game doesn't really, the stats don't add up to how this game kind of ended. It's one of those kind of weird anomaly games like that. Moving over to the Jaguars, though, go get Travis Hunter. Go get him right now if you can. If you have him, especially in leagues, when I'm saying this in IDP leagues where he has dual designation, this was the switch week. This is the week that everybody's been looking for, but the results didn't come. He had 35 snaps in the slot, 21 snaps out wide as a wide receiver, and 2 in the backfield. Every single one of those were season high marks at those positions this year, and he only had 21 at the wide cornerback. That's his least this season since week 1, I believe. That might be his just least of the whole season. So if you can go trade for him because they're getting ready to make that switch with Strange out. Demaya Brown is not him. He's droppable. He can't be used. They're trying to get him involved rushing. They try to get him involved passing. He's just not good enough. I know they went and purposely sought him out for this offense, but Travis Hunter at some point is going to take a lot of these offensive reps from him. That penalty kind of hurt him. They kind of took him out for a little bit when he got that offsides on the Brian Thomas Jr. Successful touchdown that got called back. But Hunter is going to bust out. He's going to bust out. Trust me. You need to go get for him right now because his trade value is super low.
Now's the time. Yeah.
He
played pretty much the same number of offensive snaps as Brian Thomas Jr. I'm not even saying just dual eligible leagues, like regular leagues too, because this guy is special, and they finally have him ramped up to being a full-time player.
Yeah, he's getting 80 snaps. It's unreal. Jaguars were better across all metrics of the game, like I said, but 10 penalties, 7 sacks. That's the difference in the game. T-Law still looked good. ETN had 42 offensive snaps. Tutton had 11. Just not a lot of production from either one of them, but don't lose faith in ETN.
Yeah, tough. So good point here from Wolf Among Sheep, but the thing with these teams, right? In the playoffs, the fantasy playoffs, he plays Jets, Broncos, Colts. The thing is, though, Sauce Gardner and Patrick Surtain, they're not going to be on. They're not going to be in the slot. Sauce Gardner doesn't go in the slot. He's played like 3 slot snaps the entire year. It's Brian Thomas Jr. that's going to run into those tough guys, not so much Travis Hunter. I mean, the Broncos in general, just great defense, so it's probably not a good matchup across the board, but he's the guy that gets to hide from those guys in the slot versus the outside wide receivers have the bad matchup.
Yeah, I agree, man. That pretty much sounds like I said, a weird game, but some really good takeaway points right there. Keep an eye on Charbonnet Walker, somebody that has both of them handcuffed in quite a few leagues. Just going to have to ride it out, man. I don't think I'll trade either one of them just because of the philosophy. You saw what the Seahawks wanted to do. They got ahead. They kind of just tried to get the clock moving throughout the game.
Yeah, I was trying not to draft both of them. I have a lot of spots where I have just one of them, and it's tough, man. I'm just starting Kenneth Walker. Charbonnet, I just don't trust. He's not efficient. It's like Walker really hurt himself by not being available when they installed the playbook because they clearly taught Charbonnet the pass blocking scheme and the goal line stuff, and he's just held on to that role, and that's why it looks as bad as it does. So hopefully Kenneth Walker can just make plays because that's what if he continues to show that he's the better runner, which he has he in previous weeks he looked good, this week he didn't, then they'll have no choice to then just be like, okay, this guy's actually making plays. But right now, neither one of them is. So no one's running away with it.
Yeah.
For the Chargers Dolphins game, QJ was out. Trey Harris stepped into his role, his full role. So we thought that maybe McConkey and Keenan Allen would play more, and Trey Harris would be the third wide receiver. Trey Harris actually led this team in snaps. He came in and just took QJ's role exactly. And then McConkey stayed in his role where he's in the slot for three wide receivers, sets and moves outside for two wide. And then Keenan Allen remained a part-time guy that only comes in obvious passing downs, but Keenan Allen leads the team in targets. So when he comes in, they like him a lot. Rodney Gadsden is a story here where he came out and basically he was the pass catching tight end. Even with Will Disley back, basically you saw Gadsden come out. Gadsden ran as many routes as all the wide receivers did. In fact, he ran 32 routes. Keenan Allen only ran 29. And Ladd McConkey and Trey Harris ran 33. So Gadsden was a full part of this pass attack. And they basically just used Tucker Fisk and Will Disley and Tyler Conklin as inline blocking guys. So Gadsden, he's a guy that I'm probably going to add in deeper leagues. The problem you run into is that they like to spread the ball out. So it's not like it's fully wheels up. It's not like he came in. Like I would still roster Darren Waller over him because Waller has less target competition. But Gadsden probably, I mean, we were adding him in every dynasty league already. But he probably should start being rostered in regular leagues. I'm going to sort out all that information, have it in the waiver article tomorrow. Also, for the running backs, Kamani Vidal obviously was the better back than Hassan Haskins. Pretty much Haskins kept his role on the 2-minute drill, and Vidal got the bulk of the work in every other phase. So Kamani Vidal definitely needs to be rostered, and he can be started on this team, even with the tough offensive line. They did all right here. They're going to have some tough weeks, though, because of the offensive line issues, but Vidal is definitely the guy over Haskins, so we've got the answer there. On the Dolphins side, Javon Achane continues to basically just play a ton of wide receiver on top of his running back duties. He's on pace for over 100 targets, like 107. So he's locked in any sort of PPR. You were already locking him in everywhere. Waddle also playing a ton of snaps and getting a ton of targets, so he's looking a lot better. I started Waddle over Marvin Harrison Jr. this week just because I was like, Jacoby Brissett coming in, and that worked out for me all right. I mean, Marv got hurt, so who knows what would have worked out. But that's where I'm at with Waddle. He's kind of in a lot of these lineups for me over guys that I like. Waller's snap share, I mean, some people were disappointed with Waller. He did score the touchdown, but at this stage, when I'm looking at the grand scheme of things, I love that Waller played a lot more snaps, and I could care less about the individual outcome for this week. What we want to see now is him get all the way up to like 70, 80, 90% snap share, which he used to be at 90 when he was with the Giants and with the Raiders. Like if he can get up to that level, then I don't care about the touchdown this week or 3 targets this week. That is a guy that we can feel comfortable about. That's like where Kyle Pitts is in terms of his route participation. And as you've seen with Pitts, he's one of the few guys that has 4 catches in every single game. So Waller, we're loving him right now. Again, still ranking Waller ahead of guys like Gadsden and Theo Johnson and Mason Taylor in terms of like the bench guys. Nick Westbrook-Akine did play more than Malik Washington, but they're drawing up designed plays from Malik Washington, screens and handoffs. So he's the better spot start if you need it. And how about that Tua press conference, man? What do you think about that? Because he kind of threw he didn't name individual players, but he made sure the players are aware that, like, hey, showing up late to meetings and practices, that's why we're losing these games. That's basically what he said. And we actually heard that from McDaniel and them this offseason that, people were saying that certain players that they moved on from, like Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey, might not have been taking the meetings and practices seriously or showing up late. And Tua basically told us that hasn't stopped, at least with the players only meetings. He basically came and said, like, hey, we have these players only meetings. Some people aren't showing up at all. Some people are showing up late. Some people are goofing around. That's got to be done. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that, man?
Hey man, it just sounds like, I just think of my guy over here, Lord Vince, man, and it just kind of applies to a lot of his lessons in life. We got Tua, who's a national championship winner. He's a winner, man, and he doesn't like losing. But unfortunately, losing's not just a sometimes thing, just like winning's not just a sometimes thing. It's an all the time thing. It's how you approach everything that you're trying to do to earn those victories. And I think Tua just kind of got fed up as a winner that's dealing with a bunch of loser and losing mentality. And I don't think
Right.
McDaniel, who's 42, similar to my age, like, he doesn't seem like much of an authoritarian.
No.
He seems like he can kind of be, I don't know if lackadaisical is the right term, but I just think he just doesn't like his appearance doesn't show that he's putting that much effort sometimes, which I don't think is true. I think he's probably putting a lot of effort into it,
Yeah.
but it's just how you can appear to your crowd. So that's going to be contagious to his players. Like, well, he's not caring. I'm not going to care. And we've been losing. The Dolphins haven't won a playoff game since what, like,
That
forever.
those attitudes are contagious. You're right. Contagious is the perfect word because we've seen players talk about it with injuries too. Like Jarvis Landry had that famous speech. The injuries are contagious. Like you see guys that are like, oh, he's not playing because of this. I'm not going to play because my hamstring hurts. Then you look at the Colts last year where Michael Pittman played with a broken back, and Josh Downs came out after the season and he was like, there was a stretch there where I had this toe injury and I wasn't going to play. But then Michael Pittman's playing through a broken back. And he's like, if Mike's going to play, I'm going to play. And he said, in one of those games, I came out and had my best game of the year. And he's like, in another situation, I wouldn't have played. But how am I going to sit here and not play when Michael Pittman's playing? He's playing. He's got a broken back. I got my toe kind of hurts, So like that kind of stuff is contagious. And hopefully Tua and the right people, whether he's the guy or not, he's got the right attitude. So
Right.
people are
Exactly.
saying, oh, he threw his teammates under the bus. He threw his coach under the bus. Well, if he's the one showing up and calling these players only meetings and he's showing up and he's trying his hardest and he's doing everything that he can, then he's not the bad guy here. If there's more talented players that aren't putting in the work, then they're the ones that are wrong here. So I'm on team 2 on this one, 1000%.
Yeah, me too. And just to kind of wrap it up, I saw, as a Packer fan, I've only been really a fan of like 3 quarterbacks my whole life, essentially. But it rubbed off with Brett Favre with toughness. I don't think anybody wanted to appear weak when Brett Favre was the leading quarterback, particularly in that 90s stretch. Like, I think people were playing through a lot of pain because they saw their captain doing it. And with Aaron Rodgers, I think it was intelligence. He was very fiery if you messed up. But I think it made Devontae Adams, let's say, perfect example. He made Devontae study more. He made him look at his routes more, look at how he can improve out his takeoff more, and all that I think became from Aaron Rodgers, who was he's a perfectionist. So
Right.
I think like when you have that leadership at quarterback, it's naturally going to rub off on the other part of the team.
Cool.
Um,
Fully agree.
looking at the Brown Steelers, man. Pretty interesting game. Speaking of Aaron Rodgers, but we'll start with the Browns. Ford and Judkins each had 33 snaps. At times, Ford is looking more explosive as the season's going on. He can't really shake somebody, but he's getting the initial openness to help out Gabriel, which is what a young quarterback needs, is either the check down or the separation, and he's doing both. Ford only had 30 total yards, though, after saying that, but he had 5 receptions. Judkins only had 36 rushing yards, so pretty bad performance against a good defense. 10 receptions by the tight ends again. Fanning had 7, and Njoku had 3. Fanning had 66 offensive snaps, and Njoku only had 36 offensive snaps. Fanning is clearly kind of the go-to of this offense, even with Judy. Judy had quite a few snaps as well, but Fanning.
To that point, Njoku actually might be hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Njoku could miss time here. So to this question in the chat, keep Mason Taylor a drop for Fannin, especially if you have Kittle coming back with a possible return. If you're just looking for like a 1 week possible spot start, it's gonna almost certainly be Fannin for me versus Miami, especially if Njoku is out, but maybe regardless. So keep an eye on that. If Njoku misses time, now we're into a definite good spot for Fannin. That's been the entire problem, really. It's been held us back is that they've got that rotation going, but no Cedric Tillman, no Njoku, it's wheels up for Fannin. So Njoku left in the second half, and it's due to a knee injury. I don't have an update on that, but keep going through. I'll see what I can find.
Yeah, and like 9 players had receptions in this offense. I don't think 50 passes per game is going to be sustainable for Gabriel. But if Stefanski is forced to kind of play that way, then there's going to be some relevance or some kind of spike games from whether it's Bond or Judy. Somebody's going to have to step up because 50 passes a game is going to lead to some production somewhere.
Actually, I typed in Njoku knee, and one of the first things that came up from 20 minutes ago, fantasy alarm on our own website here, which Kevin Stefanski spoke this morning, said he has no update yet on the knee injury for Dave Njoku. So probably going to undergo imaging today, and we'll have more information for you.
Yeah, Fan is probably untouchable, but if you can't do something, if you're in a position in a dynasty league or something, maybe make a move. Looking at the Steelers, Gainwell had 20 offensive snaps, 12 touches, leading receptions person for the Steelers with 6 receptions. He had 36 total yards though, so not a lot of production, but once again, PPR format. Gainwell found relative wealth if you stuck with him. Warren, 31 offensive snaps, 13 touches, 2 receptions, 63 total yards. It's going to be something to monitor going forward because they had this game clearly put away. And still, you didn't see a lot of production from the running backs. DK Metcalf, man, he's just locked in with Rodgers. That ended up being a really good combo. I mean, they were playing catch before Rodgers even committed to the Steelers, so it seemed like he was more committed to making DK than he was even to the Steelers. But Rodgers has done that. I think that's a Favre Rodgers thing. They'll boost a wide receiver, they'll go get him paid somewhere else, and they're more or less set for life. DK was already set, but he's amazing. 495 and then 1 touchdown, tough catches, contested catches. He's going to be somebody you're going to be able to depend on later in the year.
Alan Lazard's a rich man now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Look, Lazard's one example of that, man. Darnell Washington, 47 offensive snaps. I know you like to say Arthur Smith. He keeps his tight ends, likes to rotate them through. Well, look at this. Smith had 41 offensive snaps, so a perfect example. 6 snap difference. Washington, like I said, 3 for 62. Jonnu, 3 for 18. But Favre was kind of looking at. There was one point DK was wide open in the middle of the field, and like Aaron Rodgers, you could tell he was like surprised because he had the ball like longer than he thought he anticipated, and with Garrett breathing down him, and he was still able to get the ball off, but he was looking at it like he was zoning in on Jonnu, who had 2 defenders on him, and he still threw it and had faith in him. So play it out how you want. Tight end is a volatile position, but like I say almost every week on this show, I would go pick up Washington if you can, if you need tight end help. And the Steelers defense could be a set and forget the rest of the season. They're past their bye week. They just sacked the crap out of Cleveland. They're going to continue to sack people left and right. Herbig, Highsmith was back. You got Watt over there. Jalen Ramsey had 2 sacks. He's kind of a must-add in IDPs as well. Yeah. But for defense, special teams specifically, if the Steelers were available and weren't picked up, go pick them up because they could like the AFC North is done. They have as many wins as the rest of the teams do combined, and I think they legitimately could be a league winner even on standard setting defense special teams scoring. So go take a look at Steelers defense special teams.
They got added back. I double checked that. They got added back in a ton of leagues, 94% on Yahoo. So
smart moves.
And I'm not picking up any of those tight ends. I'm sorry, dude. No Darnell Washington, none of them for me. I'm not touching those guys. They too much rotation. Jonnu gets all these screens. Darnell Washington he's just a big goon.
He's so big.
He's Donald Parham. They had Donald Parham too. Just imagine that. Like they also had Donald Parham on this team, but he got.
I didn't look to see how much 12 personnel they ran or like if they were running tight end sets. But I figured it was with Arthur Smith a lot. But like I said, they didn't put the game out of reach with the running backs, even with the 2 tight end personnel look. So just something to monitor going.
They did a really good job on Myles Garrett with that, where they would put a tight end out there and then they put a tight end just off him on the wing, and you didn't know who was going to run the route and who was going to block. So Myles Garrett was like trying to chip on guy. You know what I mean? Like you didn't know who to chip on.
He sacked Rodgers. He wasn't sacked. I'm pretty sure.
I think he had 2 tackles. Myles Garrett had 2 tackles, no sacks yesterday.
Yeah.
He wasn't even involved. So.
No sacks allowed. The old man Rodgers did. Yeah. I mean,
he's getting the ball out so quick. Rodgers is. That's how you take away that part of the game is if you just say, hey, you know what, today we're going to throw it immediately. And he was
what made your guy Tommy B so good. He figured out how to get rid of the ball quickly post Randy Moss years.
The fastest by far to getting the ball out of his hands in under 2.5 seconds at a rate that's like insane. I was looking at that recently because I was looking up who was getting the ball out quick, and I went back a few years, and Brady with the Bucs was nuts. It was like 1.5 seconds.
That ACL against the Chiefs, man, it forever changed how he got rid of the ball, I think.
Right. So. Last point on that game, if you had to guess without looking, What percentage of leagues on Yahoo do you think Harold Fannin is rostered in?
I'm assuming it's got to be 70-something%.
27%.
No way, dude.
Yes. On Yahoo, a bunch of people dropped him, dude. So Harold Fannin probably, if this knee injury is serious, what is that?
Put the fab in.
I think if this knee injury, if they come out and say Njoku's done for, if they put Njoku on IR, then you got to go out and get droppable, like maybe whatever it takes on Fannin, because like he's looked good. Only thing that was holding him back was Tillman and Njoku, and now they're gone. Now it's Judy, who's looked pretty bad, Isaiah Bond, and then Fannin's going to be running wild. So yeah,
Gabriel for 2 weeks, over 33% of his targets have gone to tight ends, 33% or more.
He's getting the ball very quickly as well. So like that, I'm in. I wasn't in before. If Njoku's out, then I'm very much in. And he's going to be available in a lot of leagues. Maybe not on Sleeper, but definitely on Yahoo. Next game here, and look, the chat has been clamoring for it. They want to talk Taysom Hill.
Oh yeah, that's so annoying. Actually, with you, Coop, man, this is your guy, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where he's such a leech on fantasy. He's not a tight end. He hardly plays any tight end. He steals touchdowns from Alvin Kamara, which also drives me nuts. And once again, he scored a touchdown, and he did so against my New England Patriots. It's just teams don't know what to do when he goes back there. How is it so easy for him to just walk into the end zone? He just walks in. They snap him the ball, and he just looks around like this and just walks in. It's incredible, man. It's unstoppable. So, yeah, shout out to Taysom Hill. Juwan Johnson. So I'll start with the Saints just because we're talking Taysom already. Kamara did get more carries. He got 5 targets. Kendra Miller still mixes in. That's what they want to do. And then Taysom's going to come in and steal the touchdowns. So Kamara's a guy that I'm still starting in PPR, but he's not must start anymore. Kendra Miller is still difficult to start because, you would think that Kamara with his ankle injury this week, this would be the time for Kendra to play more, but he didn't. Olave is a guy we're starting. He's getting tons of targets. Shaheed is a boom bust field stretcher. You know what you're getting with that. Like he's going to get some deep shots every game, and he's either going to get him or he's not. So
best ball, bro.
What's that?
He's a best ball, bro.
He's a best ball, perfect best ball, bro. Yeah, exactly. Him and like Alec Pierce and Trey Tucker, like those guys that are just running a ton of vertical routes. They can hit, they can not. Santana Moss was like all time.
Yeah.
Because he would basically he'd catch a deep ball and take a screen 70 yards one game, and the next game he'd get 2 deep balls that he doesn't touch and a screen that he gets tackled, and he'll finish with 1 catch for 2 yards. He would either have 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, or he'd have 2 yards. So shout out Santana Moss. She's a little bit more consistent than that. But yeah, that's where we're living on the Saints, trying not to start those guys. On the Patriots, again, good football team right now, not a great fantasy team because of the rotation. They're kind of moving guys in and out. I'm waiting for some numbers. Oh, the numbers are out.
McDaniels is being McDaniels, man. So that's
going on. McDaniels, rotating guys around, I'll tell you for now, Ramondre Stevenson playing in virtually all phases. Antonio Gibson being out, Stevenson basically picked up all those snaps. He played 46 snaps. Henderson played 19. And he was basically saying, oh, yeah, like, we want to see Henderson return kicks. He didn't even return kicks. Efton Chisholm was activated, and he returned the kicks. So, really, and Chisholm only played 2 offensive snaps, so not a guy you can really add. But, yeah, Henderson, we want to see more of him. We want to see him be the new James White, but right now he's not. Ramondre Stevenson is the guy that you should be starting. I warned people of this. I was like, I watched Josh McDaniels for years and years and years. It's been the same thing the whole time. It's been an early down back and then a pass down back, going back to Corey Dillon and Kevin Falk, going back to Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis, and Danny Woodhead. They always have an early back like a Stephen Ridley or a LeGarrette Blount, and a pass down back like a James White or a Deion Lewis. The Henderson's got to earn that role for himself first, and he hasn't even done that yet. So, in best ball, I have $775 worth of buy-in fees on Ramondre Stevenson and like $200 on Henderson. So people are like, well, ideally Henderson will play more and then they'll do this. And I'm sitting back here saying, I kind of like it the way it is right now. I think this is actually great. So I'm sticking with this. I have much more Stevenson than Henderson just because I've seen it, man. I've seen it as a Patriots fan, how annoying it can be. So Keishawn Butte, 23 snaps. Big shout out to John Impemba. The Impemba special He basically said, "Hey, this guy, Keishawn Butte, he lived his whole life in Louisiana, grew up there, went to high school at Westgate, went to college at LSU. He's going to have 100 tickets reserved for this game. They're going to do their best to get him a look. Sure enough, big game for him. So is it going to be something that repeats every week? I don't know. We do know that he leads the team in snaps every week. So Butte leads in snaps. Diggs is usually second. Demario Douglas obviously peppers in. That I'm not sure if you saw it, but it was the softest penalty ever happened in this game, dude. Dude, Demario Douglas caught a 61-yard touchdown all the way downfield, and then all of a sudden a flag comes in, and they're like, "Oh, is it a push off on Demario Douglas?" And they show Douglas, and no one touched him the whole way down. And then they call the penalty, and they go push off on Stephon Diggs, and they show the replay, and it was basically one of those things, Iggy, where when like you're not part of the play, so a wide receiver just kind of jogs like 7 steps and then doesn't do anything. Both Hunter Henry and Diggs did that. They just jogged 7 steps and kind of made contact with the defensive backs, and everyone just kind of acknowledged like, okay, they're throwing it deep. We're not part of the play. And then they called pass interference on Diggs because he kind of touched the cornerback after 5 yards. It was the most softest nonsense call. And then right after that, there were like 4 makeup calls where they basically were just throwing flags at the Saints to try and make it right or whatever. But it was like Dean Blandino was like, I don't think that's a penalty that the league would want to see called. That's what he's basically. He's like, I don't think they're like, oh, technically maybe, but he's like, I don't think the league would want to see that being called. So,
and those referee unions are tight. They don't like to talk noise on each other at all over there. It's
no,
always the right call.
That was the nicest way of for basically him to say like that was bad. He was like, I don't think they'd want to see those ones called. So it was bad. Didn't matter. Patriots still won. Patriots are a solid team. They're not one of the best teams in the league. They can beat teams like the Saints, and they got a lot of bad teams on the schedule. So, Patriots could be a team that makes the playoffs and loses in the wild card this year, maybe, right, based on their schedule. But there's a lot of hope in the building. Drake May looks great, right? Drake May's throwing
McDaniels. That's what I meant by McDaniels doing McDaniels. I mean, look how great he's done with it. He's a great quarterback whisperer, man. There's no doubt about it.
He's a good coordinator and a bad head coach, and that's fine. Steve Spagnuolo might make the Hall of Fame as a defensive coordinator, but he probably isn't a good head coach. So, all right, let's rip through these last couple games here. Yeah. Titans Raiders, what you got?
Yeah, I got it real quick. I mean, this is probably the worst fantasy game anyway. Spears outsnapped Pollard 36-26. Spears had 9 touches, 50 total yards. Pollard had 12 touches, 37 total yards. So just Titans offense is terrible, man. Chig is maybe the only person you can really trust. 6 receptions, 46 yards. He's probably got the safest floor in fantasy football just because the Titans are always going to be playing with the negative game script, it feels like. But really, the truth is no player is safe to start on that offense. Cedric Gay, that is the highlight of the Tennessee Titans. I told you guys a couple of weeks ago, he's a linebacker. He's a must-own. Go get him. I'm looking at the Raiders. Trey Tucker, wide receiver 1 over there. At least until Bowers returns. Jacoby is just straight-up droppable. He hasn't put over 6 points in a half-point PPR league for 3 weeks in a row now. Tight ends have value in this offense. I mean, I know it's Pete Carroll and it's a new system with Chip Kelly, but Myers still had 56 offensive snaps. He had more than that because he plays a lot of special teams. But he put up 5 for 50, man. And I think as long as he's healthy, like he's a player in a league where I have to pay to drop an ad. I've picked him up 3 times and dropped him 3 times because I keep seeing the potential. I just need to know that he's going to stay healthy, And I only usually carry 1 tight end, so if he's out, I had to get somebody else. But keep an eye on Myers because I think Bowers, like you talked about, Coop, when we did the show week 1, I think there was something going on before the season even began, and they didn't disclose it because he's not himself, and I'm not sure he's going to be himself this season. So keep a look on that. And then Genty, 25 touches, 86 total yards, and a touchdown, man. He's getting his value. They're starting to utilize him more. They're kind of realizing, oh, he's definitely the best player on our offense. Let's get him the ball more. So keep an eye on him going forward.
Yeah, I checked, and no injury to Pollard. They just flat out used Spears a little more in a negative game script, and it's probably going to be like that moving forward, where they like Spears on pass downs. If it's a negative game script, which pretty much all the Titans games will be, he might play a little more. So he looked good. He's gotten that role. Calvin Ridley did leave with a hamstring, so watch for that. I'm surprised you didn't mention your boy Cedric Gray, highest graded player in this game this week.
I did. I said Cedric Gay is a must-own.
I must have missed that. Yeah, he was.
I said that's the only highlight for the Titans is he's a must-own right there.
Okay, good.
Like what was it, 9 assisted tackles. I mean, he's everywhere. When you have 9 assisted tackles, that means you're flying to the football. You're not getting targeted in a pass game, one-on-one on a man coverage. 9 assisted tackles means you're going everywhere. So
effort. Yeah. And those are the guys we like for the tackle monster bets. So I'm putting that one in my back pocket.
Oh, yeah.
49ers, Buccaneers here. I mean, the 49ers could probably field a second team that could beat the Titans and could beat the Jets, right? Like, if you consider the starters to be Purdy, Ayuk, Jennings, Kittle, CMC, they could, and then, they use the fullback, so it's 2 wide receivers. They could field the second team of Mac Jones, Kendrick Bourne, Ricky Pearsall, Jake Tonjes, who's been pretty good, Brian Robinson, who's generally pretty good. I mean, like, this team, they are deep, and it's a testament to Shanahan, and it's why. I mean, Kendrick Bourne just cost Juwan Jennings so much money. It's crazy because he's trying to get paid, and then Kendrick Bourne shows up, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll just have 142 yards every week. It's easy on this team. Don't worry about paying anybody." So, yeah.
I don't know. I think he's going to be a little bit like Brian Thomas, though. I think his value probably slips away once Mac Jones is gone.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, because eventually they're going to get back down the stretch. Ayuk, Pearsall, Jennings. Jennings is playing through multiple injuries. He's apparently now on top of the. They asked him about like it's like an ankle and a knee issue, and then he was like, "Oh, by the way, like I also have broken ribs." Right.
Yeah.
So like Juwan Jennings for me, if I can avoid him, I'm probably going to just because of that. We're expecting Kittle back this week, possibly Ricky Pearsall. Christian McCaffrey's the best player in football. If you can trade for him, you do it, whatever. He played played 60 snaps, getting all sorts of crazy targets. So he's awesome. And then unfortunately, Fred Warner done for the season. Dislocated
one game his entire career. And he's like the longest tenured 49ers. George Kittle, Fred Warner, and then who was the other one? I got injured as well. Oh, Nick Bosa. That's their 3 longest tenured 49ers, and they're all gone. So
yeah, so he's done. Dislocated broken ankles, basically what Godwin had last year. Yeah. So speaking of that, Buccaneers, Emeka Egbuka hamstring injury. So if Egbuka, Godwin, and Evans are all out, then it's going to be Tez Johnson and Cameron Johnson on the outside, and Sterling Shepard in the slot. Sterling Shepard's role didn't really increase. He still was actually 3rd on the team in routes run. So I think that's what they're going to want to do over there if that happens. Boost to Cade Otton if that happens. And you can start Rachaad White for as long as Bucky Irving's out. That's basically where we live on the Bucs. You got to knock down Baker at least a little bit, just because if he's going to miss all 3 of his top weapons, he's just not as appealing. But he's still got to make things happen. But there's a lot of options out there in single QB leagues.
Look! If they keep staying injured too, look for 2 running back sets. They might run and motion one out of the backfield, and then see if they got to match up in a man or zone that they like with White or Irvin.
Breaking news in the chat here. There goes Brian Callahan. So Titans are in need of a new head coach, and not surprised, man. Not surprised by that.
Mike Vrabel. He don't know how good you have something until it's gone. Sometimes.
Right. Exactly.
Looking at. Are you ready? Do you want me to go to the Bengals Packers game? Wrap it up.
Yeah. Let's wrap them up quick. We got a couple minutes here, and I'll do that.
Okay, Flacco. He made Higgins and Chase and Fant relevant. Gesicki pec injury. I'm assuming he's going to miss time. So go get Fant if you need a tight end, because Flacco loves his tight ends, and I think he's going to make those 3 relevant. Brown 35 snaps, Pirine 30 offensive snaps. Pirine had much more with special teams, and they used Pirine in the 4th quarter. Watching that game, somebody that watched that game live, Pirine was the one they trusted in the 2-minute, 4-minute situation, negative game script situation. I would try to dish off Brown if you can. I was never big on him going into the season, but I think he's proven that he was more of a 1-year wonder with Burrow. When I look at the Packers, man, it was all about Josh Jacobs, dude. I knew this game was. I talked about him. He was 7 yards of hitting my mega parlay. He had 93 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 19 carries. He 5 receptions for 57 yards as well. A little untraditional for Jacobs, but he did it. He was the co-leader in the receptions actually for the Packers. Dobbs had 5 for 55 as well, co-leader. Kraft 2 for 43 and 1 touchdown. And golden breakout game is here. Finally, we've been waiting for it. He had 3 receptions, 86 yards, and 102 scrimmage yards with his rush. It's going to be hard gauging the Packers going forward. Like, I love Dobbs in a PPR. He's probably going to have a safe floor, but it could be Kraft one week. It could be Golden one week. When Reed comes back, it could be Reed one week. And Jacobs is always going to be there taking most of the volume. So keep an eye on that going forward. And then on the IDP front, Quay Walker, Packers are coming off the bye. For some reason, if he didn't get picked up, go pick him up. He's going to probably lead the league in tackles per game or overall tackles this season. He's a monster. He's led the Packers for the past 2 years for tackles. You got to go get Quay Walker if somebody left him available.
Love Quay Walker, man. Yeah, he's always in the tackle monster bet, especially anytime they play a good tight end. He's a good tight end cover guy. He's all over those guys. So Matthew Golden, just in last note on that, the beautiful thing for him is that these better weeks have coincided with a change. So early in the year, he played more snaps out wide than he did in the slot for the first 3 weeks. In week 4, he played 35 snaps in the slot, 14 out wide. So they put him in the slot. And then coming out of the bye, 27 in the slot, 12 out wide. So they moved him into the slot. So for the time being, I'm starting him for as long as he's in that slot role. When Jaden Reed gets back, then we're going to have to see how it shakes out. But for the time being, while he's in this role, he's been looking much better.
I love is looking at what they're doing against him. He was in a pre-snap motion quite a bit in that game as well.
Bingo. Yeah. So for the time being, he'll be in lineups for me. For the Lions Chiefs, pretty typical deployment for the pass catchers for the Lions. It's Amon-Ra, it's JMO, it's Laporta, right? Laporta does play a few more snaps in the slot in negative game scripts. They got they shift a little bit in what they're doing and they go into pass catcher mode, right? And so week 1 in the negative game script, he played a bunch of slot snaps. This week he played 22 wide receiver snaps, 29 in line. So, you actually do want negative game scripts for Laporta. That's the bottom line there. In the negative game script, Gibbs played a lot more than Monty. That's how that goes when they're winning big.
Bill had no receiving yards. He had 0 receiving yards.
Gibbs?
Yes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they took him away, man. That was kind of part of their plan, but he still played a lot more. So it's like Gibbs, you're starting no matter what. Monty, you're only starting if you really think the Lions are going to go up big. That's kind of how I'm treating those guys now. Lions defense was definitely banged up. Brian Branch, is he going to get suspended?
He should.
Because
he definitely should be. Yeah, he drew blood.
I don't know what his problem is, dude. Just shake the guy's hand.
Yeah, he's got an anger issue.
He was frustrated because he was playing hurt.
Yeah.
That's what it was. He played through an injury and he didn't play well and he was frustrated, but like boneheaded stuff like that, man, you're costing yourself money. You're probably going to get suspended, like dumb. On the Chiefs side, Worthy and Juju led in snaps. Hollywood played. Hollywood basically comes out for like rundowns and plays on pass downs. Here's what we're doing. This is all you need to know. You're starting Worthy and Rice because Rashee Rice is back.
He's back,
and you're starting right. You're starting Rice and Worthy and Kelsey. All this Juju, Tyquan Thornton, Hollywood business, DFS, fine. Do whatever you want. I'm not starting those guys. I don't trust them week to week, and it's going to be Rice and Worthy and Kelsey. If that, we don't even know if all 3 of those guys can all be relevant at the same time. That's the problem with fantasy football with these teams that are loaded with weapons. So there you go. Isaiah Pacheco got the work that he has not been getting. He got virtually all the work in all phases. They kind of put Hunt and some back burner. So Pacheco becomes much more reliable start moving forward. But that's it for us, man. Unless you had anything else on that last game, the Sunday night game.
No, Chiefs are for real. Go get Rice. For some reason he's available or somebody forgot about him in a league or something like that.
The evil has returned. So here we go. That's it for us. Tomorrow we're going to be back with waivers. Wednesday we're going to be back with DFS and trades. Thursday we have 2 different sit shows, one at 1 o'clock, one 6 to 7 with Iggy and John. And then Friday I will be back with a special guest as always. So thank you guys. Hit that like and subscribe. The waiver show tomorrow and the waiver articles will be up telling you who to add and drop and keep on rocking. So that's going to be it for us today. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch you tomorrow.
Adios, turd nuggets.